Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna and today we are going to do my superhero-a-thon reading wrap-up. Alrighty, so it actually has been like a week since the Readathon completed, but I spent a week out in Colorado in preparation for moving out there, and I did not bring any of my filming equipment. So that was, my bad on my part. So I'm filming this now. Hopefully I can get it up by tomorrow. That's the plan. Oh well, I'm a little late. We already knew that April and May were gonna be a little crazy. I warned you. You get what you get, I guess. Now I am making no promises on this audio quality. I do have a new mic, so hopefully it works, but we are having like 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts today. And so it's very blustery, like I can hear it. I can hear the wind rushing through the window. I make no promises. I hope that the mic will save the day, but we'll see. All right, so the superhero readathon wrap up. It actually went, the readathon went pretty well, I guess. I managed to at least start all of the books that were on my TBR, and I managed to stick to my TBR. I did not add new books, change out things. I didn't do that. So I'm actually very impressed with myself, and the fact that I was at least able to start everything was great. I didn't finish everything, and I'm going to start with the 2 books that I'm still working on, and then I'll go through the ones that I read. All right, so the first book I'm still working on, and I will talk about this one more in my end of my wrap up at the end of April, beginning of May, something like that. And that one met the challenge for Captain Marvel, which was to read a new release that you were excited about. And for that, I had chose Toil and Trouble. It's a short story anthology about a bunch of, female witches and that power. And it's really good. I'm about halfway through it, and it's a really good blend of contemporary historical fiction. There's some really, really dark stories in there. There's some really funny, cute, adorable stories in there. I'm really, really enjoying it so far. I think I made the mistake of thinking that short stories were gonna blow through really fast, and they really didn't. So that, I think, is probably why I didn't finish it. Also, I'm reading it on my Kindle. I tend to read a little bit slower on my Kindle unless it's just a book I am enthralled with, and that does not happen really, really that often. Also, when I left to go to Colorado last Sunday, which is when I was planning on reading it, I did not charge my Kindle the night before, so it was dead on the plane, so I had to read an actual book. Anyways, that was kind of the reason why I haven't finished it yet. I'm about halfway through it, still working on it, still loving it, and I will do a full review of it at the end of the month. The next book that I'm still currently working on met 2 of the challenges, and that was Captain America, read a book about your country, and Black Panther. I had to read it to look it up. So it met the challenge of Captain America, which was to read a book about your country, and Black Panther, which was to read a book with a protagonist who was a person of color. And that book was Behold the Dreamers by Mbolo Mbu. And this book was on my most anticipated reads for this year. It was definitely a book I wanted to get to, and I love it. It is so, so good. It's about a Cameroonian immigrant in 2007, so right before the recession hits, and he works for a big Wall Street exec, and so it's kind of like the 2 families and the difference between them. And so it's him and his wife, and he's trying to save enough money to be able to still support some of his family that's still in Cameroon. He's trying to deal with getting a green card and becoming a legal citizen. And then you have on the flip side of it, the family of the Wall Street exec who was really, really hit hard by the recession. And it's really cool because it's obviously, I don't remember when it was published, but because it's based in 2007, so they're like really talking about President Obama and how he's going to become the next president and he's going to change everything and it's going to be amazing because we're going to have a black president. And it's kind of interesting to kind of go back to that mindset of when we didn't realize, like, 8 years ago, when you're still thinking, I guess it's 9 years ago, when as adults, we still have a very vivid recollection of that time. It wasn't that long ago, but it was long enough to be like, oh yeah, like people were actually thinking about that. This was something that was really heavy on people's minds. So I love that, and I'm loving this book. It's beautifully written. It's definitely gonna I would say that it's probably gonna end up being one of my top books of the year. So, which is cool because it was one of my most anticipated ones, and so having a most anticipated book on my top books means I'm doing something right. Now on to the books that I actually finished during the Readathon. The first book that we're going to talk about met 2 of the challenges. Again, met the challenge for Iron Man, which was to read an oldie but a goodie, and the second challenge it met was Avengers, which was the hashtag squad goals. And for that, I read Pride and Prejudice. I read the majority of that on audiobook as I was going on some road trips the week during the Readathon and needed something. I had actually never read Pride and Prejudice before. I've watched the movie. I've watched both movies. I've seen the BBC version of it. I love the story, and to read the book, or to actually read the physical book, the original, was just really, really great, and it made me really want to watch my movie of it. However, it is packed, and it makes me sad, but oh well. I gave that book 5 stars. If you don't know what Pride and Prejudice is, it is a book that was written during the 1700s, about the 1700s. So technically it is a contemporary. And it's about 5 daughters who the mother is obsessed with getting them married off to rich people. And so she meets Mr. Darcy, who is this very, very rich but very prideful, and starts off as this very kind of unlikable character. Anyways, they hate each other, they fall in love. As I was reading it, and I think that this is something that I don't hear a lot about. In fact, I've never heard this, but Chelsea's probably gonna kill me, from Chelsea Darling Reads, probably will kill me for saying this because it will alter her thought process of the hating game, but I think that Pride and Prejudice is the original hating game. It's very much a similar trope. 2 people don't like each other, they end up falling in love. I mean, it's the hate to love trope, but when I was thinking about it, little things about it, I just feel like it was a modern day, very subtle Pride and Prejudice retelling. So there's that. That could be my personal opinion, and nobody else could think that. That's cool too, but I just thought I would throw that out there. The next book that I read met the challenge of Ant-Man, which was to read a tiny book that packs a punch. And for me, I read Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. This is the first in the Wayward Children series, which I thought I would go ahead and start because everyone on BookTube is raving about this series and these books. And I, unpopular opinion here, didn't love it. It was okay, but I feel like it was just so rushed, and that's just because it's a novella and it's not a full-length novel. There was just so many unanswered questions, and the ending was so rushed. I felt like it was building, and then it just dropped. And I will continue to read the series eventually, but it's not something that I am dying to read the next book. So I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't hate the book, obviously, because I am going to continue the series, but it wasn't my favorite. It's not something that I'm going to rave about for the rest of the year. The next book that I read completed the challenge for Black Panther, which was to read a book with a kick-ass female protagonist. And for this one, I decided to read a poetry collection, and I read The Princess Saves Herself in this one by Amanda Lovelace. I hate this cover because it's just black and it's matte and it kind of shows up in a really weird way in the camera. It looks like there's fingerprints all over it. But that being said, what is inside this book was amazing. I am not normally one for picking up poetry. I just don't normally tend to pick it up and read it. But this book was so good. I actually started, I think it was I got to page 30 or something like that, and I was texting my sister and I was like, oh my gosh, have you read this book? This is amazing. It's so great. I loved it. There was a part in about the middle where she starts talking about this guy, and I was like, where's she going with this? Because the title of the book is, or the whatever this is called, selection, is called The Princess Saves Herself in this one, meaning that we don't need a guy. And by the end of it, it totally went back to that, and I was like, okay, we're good. It was just a little setback. But anyways, I loved this, and I'm going to pick up her second one, The Witch Doesn't Burn, in this one, and I'm really, really excited to read that one too. She's just very raw and very real. She talks about the abuse that she went through. She talks about deaths in her family. There's so many trigger warnings. I think the first page, let me see it. I'm going to see if I can find it. There's an entire page of trigger warnings. So that being look at that if you're triggered by any of these things, but you should read this book. Definitely, obviously gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was beautiful. The final book that I finished completed the challenge of Thor, which was to read a book set on a different world or a different realm. And for that, I read Red Rising by Pierce Brown. And this is another series that is huge on BookTube. Everyone loves it. There's, the most recent book just recently came out. I also didn't love this book either. I feel like they took Hunger Games, put it on Mars. That's really how I feel about it. And I love Hunger Games. I love that series. But this one, I had high hopes for it, actually, to be honest, because it started out really, really good. I felt really, really sympathetic for the disaster that happened at the beginning, and I felt sorry for the character. I really wanted to see how this all ended, and then it drug on so long. It was really, really long. So I don't understand how they're gonna get 3 more books, because I do, because it's just drag. If the rest of them are gonna drag on, I feel like the idea behind this whole premise was that they are different cast of people are numbered, or not numbered. They're set up by color, and so reds are the lowest class. They are the slaves, the mine workers, and all this other stuff. And the whole idea is that he becomes a gold, which is the highest class, to get into basically kind of overthrow the government eventually, I guess. And he goes in, they basically have this Hunger Games war between these other different golds to kind of set up their own society. It was very weird, and I feel like throughout the book, and this again my personal opinion, but I feel like he lost sight of who he actually was, because he was so caught up in this whole war and society building and all this becoming a leader, that he forgot the reason why he was doing it in the first place. It didn't really go back to, a couple of times he talked about his wife, and which is what started the whole thing. But other than that, it didn't really talk about the reason why he was doing it. And it just kind of, I feel like he just got power hungry. For that, I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. I don't believe that I will be completing the series, at least not right now. Oh, I totally forgot the first book that I completed during the Superhero Readathon challenge, because the book is already packed. I don't know how it slipped my mind, but when I was talking about Red Rising, I remembered it. So this book completed the challenge of Hulk, which was an intimidating book that you wanted to smash out. So for the month of March, I had put Red Sparrow on my TBR. I was going to finish it at the very beginning of the month, and it just didn't go as planned. Things happened. I didn't really love the book, and that being said, I wanted to put it on the superhero readathon as an intimidating book that I wanted to smash out because I had set it aside for so long, for like 3 weeks, and I didn't want to read it, so I wanted to just get it out of the way. So I did finish it. I gave the book 2 out of 5 stars because it was not great at all. The author is an actual CIA former intelligence officer or something like that. I don't remember his actual title, but he wrote the book in a very CIA way. And so some of the things that he was talking about, I feel like he didn't connect to a normal audience and someone who didn't understand what some of these specific things he was talking about. The storyline was great, and the movie was really, really good. And that is all I have for you guys today. I apologize for it being a little bit late, but I am officially 12 days away from being in Colorado full time. So I'm a little busy right now. But anyways, I hope you liked what you saw. If you did, make sure that you click that thumbs up button. And if you want to see more of my crazy antics, then click the subscribe button, hit that little notification so that you get notified every time that I post a video, since it's a little random right now. Sorry. Have a great day, guys.